Stop mentioning it. It'll be fine.
Okay, boss. Okay, you're the boss. You're the boss of me.
All right, guys. We should be live now on YouTube. So, started about
Yes, we are.
3 minutes late. That's not too bad.
Stop mentioning it.
That's not the worst we've ever done.
Somebody's leaking into their mic. I think it's either me
All right,
or
guys.
somebody else.
We should be live now on YouTube. Hold on. Started about
Yes, we are.
3 minutes late. That's not too bad. Not the worst we've ever done. Yeah, it's probably me. All right, guys. We should be live now on YouTube. Hold on. Started about
Yes, we are.
3 minutes late. Let me hang up and come back. Not the worst we've ever done. Yeah, it's probably me. All right, guys. We should be live now on YouTube. Hold on. Started about
Yes, we are.
3 minutes late. Let me hang up and come back. Not the worst we've ever done. Yeah, it's probably me. All right, guys. We should be live now on YouTube. Hold on. Hey guys, can you hear me? Hey guys, can you hear me? I can hear myself. Hey guys, can you hear me? Oh, we're gonna have to do some pulse audio volume control, I think. Oh, we're gonna have to do some pulse audio volume control, I think.
Yeah, I just heard you again.
Oh, we're gonna have to do some pulse audio volume control, I
use
think.
Wire Plumber, and then
I just heard you
reload
again.
the Wire Plumber system service
Oh,
file.
we're gonna have to do some pulse audio volume control,
Because I
I
have
think.
Wire Plumber, and
I
I
just
just
heard
reload one device at a time.
Oh,
I can hear 7.
I have Wire Plumber,
Yeah,
and
I just heard you.
one device at a
I'll
time.
come.
Oh, yeah, I
You
guess
know,
that would be.
sometimes Zipper gets a little sussy with you if you're using Tumbleweed. It gets a little
Yeah,
sussy.
actually, I
Alright.
yeah, I guess that would be.
Sometimes Zipper gets a little sussy with you if you're using Tumbleweed. It gets a little
Yeah, I
sussy.
did find a cool utility to GFS that would prefer using that.
Sometimes Zipper gets a little sussy with you if you're using Tumbleweed. That's the gets a little
Yeah, I did find a cool utility to GFS that would prefer.
okay, this is not working. All right, guys. Can you guys hear me? I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Give me a yay or a nay on the audio. Hold on a second. I may actually have to join the chat here. Yeah, I switched over to Zoom. I just can't log into Jitsi at all. I don't know why. I'll either have to... I'll have to spend some time with that. I only use Jitsi once a month to do this, so it's not like something I really have time to figure out. Because, yeah, they had some kind of change where now you actually do need a login, which makes sense. It's one of the things I've complained about Jitsi in the past is you need to be able to log into and have a moderator control over a room that's public, which wasn't the case before. Which is one of the reasons why I always used Zoom for a long time. People are waiting to get in. I forgot I had to admit people. All right. Been a while since I used Zoom.
Hey, Derek.
All right. So,
Can you guys hear me?
yep, we got you.
Can you hear me?
I forgot I
Derek?
had to admit people. You know that people don't just automatically join.
That's kind of a shame. Yeah. And Christian says he hates Zoom.
Well,
How you doing, Derek?
If Jitsi worked, we'd use it, but it's obviously not going to work for me, and I'm the one that's got to record the stream.
geez,
So
man.
I couldn't join you guys' rooms, and we get weird feedback or something was going on. I
I
didn't. Wanna,
used to use Zoom all the time.
yeah, and we were just wasting too
I'm
much
okay
time.
We
with
It's
were
20
just blabbering on about Steve's Debian spin while we were waiting on you.
Yeah, it just got to the point where we were wasting too much time.
Sorry,
we just
Derek.
needed to get something going here. So
Yeah, it happens. We didn't want to be blowing our tubes while waiting for you.
yeah,
Yeah, so
My
so,
camera.
yeah. Obviously, a horrible start to the stream today, guys.
it could be worse, Derek. You know, there could be no stream at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the deal with Jitsi is. It just would not let me log in. Didn't let me log in using the Brave browser. Wouldn't let me log in using Qt browser. I installed Firefox just to try to log in using Firefox with the Google sign-in.
Could be worse. Could be going to Chrome.
Well, Brave and Qt browser are Chrome-based, so I tried
You
two
tried
Chrome-based
everything.
browsers and Firefox. Yeah, that's. I don't
Well,
know.
it could be worse. Could be using Google Chrome and then totally have a rage fit.
Yeah, maybe if I was on Chrome, or maybe I should have tried one of the other logins. So the other logins were Twitter, which I don't use, or Facebook. I think one of the other social media networks. There was a GitHub login, but I don't even know. I'd have to go find my GitHub login credentials. It's been so long since I logged into GitHub for anything.
You are Mr. GitLab.
Yeah. I
By
have a
the way-
GitHub account because sometimes I'll post issues on people's GitHub, but I don't do that often enough to where
Yeah.
I
But-
know.
By the way, Derek, I git cloned your DTOS repository and built it. Yeah, you need to fix. You need if whenever you have time, I can help you fix the output directory because the ISO ends up in the out directory with a million different other files. Because
that's where I put it.
yeah, but it's if you put it there, it's going to be confusing to find the ISO between all the build.
Well, I know
files.
where it's at. It's for me, Steve. But you can change it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I fixed it. I already fixed it. But yeah,
Now, where does it matter where you put the ISO? I mean, I could have put it in any folder on the system. I just threw it in that working directory.
yeah, it's better to put it in the user's home directory. But anyway, it's an easy fix. But otherwise, it built it in.
The reason I put it in that directory is because a lot of times, if the ISO is broken, I remove it and I remove everything in that one directory. It's got the
you
working
need
directory and the ISO all in the same directory.
Yeah.
it's just-
To remove that directory, you need sudo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
you need
anyway.
sudo to build the ISO. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah, and the script I use, it will automatically prompt you for your sudo password, and then will delete the build directory. But anyway, I installed it, and it works just fine. And congrats on that.
Well, no, actually, it was pretty badly broken that first ISO. I mean, it worked. Like, you could install that in, but there was some major breaking points. I've actually rebuilt that ISO like 5 times. I republished that ISO 5 times in the last week because the very first ISO I put out, there was one major breaking issue on some machines because I had copy to RAM enabled for some reason, which caused some people not to be able to install it on some machines because it copied the entire file system to RAM, which then meant Calamares couldn't find the SFS file to unpack because it's not in the right place because it's copied to RAM.
Yeah.
So I had to disable that. So I rebuilt the ISO the next day just for that. And then there was a nasty bug where Emacs just did not work in the live environment
Oh, yeah,
or
that is
after
true.
installation, which I could not figure out what to deal with that. I spent 2 whole days. I mean, seriously, the second day I spent 10 hours of doing nothing but trying to solve this Emacs problem on this live environment. And then after the installation, the problem is I was shipping all the Emacs packages already built. So the user didn't have to waste 10, 15 minutes to wait for all the Emacs programs to build on their system. I thought, well, I've already got them built on my system. I'll just put them on the ISO already, put them in scale. They won't have to build the pack. But
Yeah.
the package manager, Alpaca, it builds all the packages. But like so many package managers, even Linux package managers, like your standard package managers, they have a lot of symlinks.
Yeah.
They symlink everything. There's hundreds of symlinks, and all those symlinks point to places on my computer where I built those packages originally. So /home/DT.
You had to.
And that
you
user
can't-
doesn't exist either in the live environment, because the live environment user is DTOS, or when you go through the Calamares installer and create your user, unless you name your user DT, you also don't get an Emacs that actually works. So
Can't you use the $home for the symlinks?
no, because well, you can, but here's the problem: Calamares runs as root.
Yeah.
So when you run like the shell process module in Calamares to execute a command, it's executing as root. And $home is whatever users running that command, their home directory. Well, root is /root, his directory. So it still symlinks to a directory that doesn't exist because /root.config Emacs. That's not even a real path. That, so it just failed doing that. What I ended up doing is I ended up having the Qtile auto start script taking care of that for me after the fact. Instead of fooling with Calamares and all that, after 10 hours of pulling my hair out, the little hair I have, right? What I decided to do, I've got this if statement in my Qtile auto start script where if it's never been run before, I've got a little side script that changes all the symlinks to the user that's actually logging into the system.
Welcome to my world, DT, to the world of maintainers. That's what we spend our time doing. When I first started, Zero Linux, and Ben can vouch for that 100%. When I first started Zero Linux, I spent 3 weeks to understand just Calamares and its modules. Because there's a group on Telegram called Core ISO Builders. This is where we discuss Calamares. That's where Adrian de Groot is, the creator of Calamares. Now that he dropped away from the project, he just monitors what we do. But nobody was helping. Everybody was like sending me, go read the documentation, go read. I'm like, what documentation? The documentation is the config file, and it has a little bit of blurbs, but it's not detailed enough for me to understand. So I had to continuously build ISOs, fail, build again, fail again, build again, fail again, just like you did, GT. But it took me 3 weeks. But one thing I need to tell you, DT.
By the way, guys, one thing I should mention, I actually don't have a Zoom account anymore because I haven't used Zoom in a long time. So we've only got 40 minutes on this call from the time.
Oh, hell, Derek.
Yeah.
Derek.
Well, it's just what we have to do. Well, what I'd probably have to do is create a new room after that. We all got for another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, DT, there's a module in Calamares called systemd services-systemd. If you want to enable or disable any timers or services, you do it from there. But you have to be careful. You don't need to put .service for normal services, but for timers and socks, you have to add the .socket or and .timer and .timer if it's a timer like fstrim. And I think COPS is a socket, so you have to add the .socket. But otherwise, you enable disable services through that module, and it's amazing. And I just added a new service, a new package plus a service. It updates. It uses Arch rate mirrors, or rate Arch mirrors. RAM. It uses that to update the Arch mirror list to the nearest to the user's location on a weekly basis. So that will help with keyring issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot you can do with Calamares. It's very flexible. You just need to start understanding it better.
Yeah. Now, Derek, Steve, I have a question for both of you.
Well, the problems I ran into, most of them had nothing to do with Calamares. It had to do with doing weird stuff that most people don't build Linux distros around, like an already built Emacs. Like nobody does that. And even with the old DTOS installation script, you know, I never did that. I just had them run through an installation and actually build the packages, because I actually experimented like 3 years ago trying to build my own binary package of a pre-built Emacs, and it never worked. But that had been a long time ago, and I couldn't remember exactly why it didn't work until this week. And then I remembered why it didn't work.
Right.
Those damn symlinks. And scripting to fix symlinks is extremely hard, because there's not a lot of things you can do at the command line to actually get like the target of a symlink. The ls command in the long form gives you the file name and the target, which is nice, but you can't really, scripting with the ls command it's not something I like to do. You could use the read link command to get a symlink or the target. Yeah. But the problem with read link is it does not accept a variable in a bash script. It'll accept a file name, but if you give it a variable like read link $ variable name, it won't take it. Because I was just going to create this really simple for loop where it was going to read the link and then change it for me. Yeah, it wouldn't work.
I suffer from the same issue on Zero Linux for libadwaita themes, where I have to symlink to GTK4 in the home in the .config directory instead of .themes. I created a script that launches on startup that creates the symlinks and does that. So
some of the other problems it wasn't necessarily problems, but I rebuilt the ISO also kind of early in the week, because some people didn't like the fact that I was using Network D, just the standard System D, network manager. They wanted actual network manager, with the network manager applet, especially laptop user. Anybody that's going to use Wi-Fi, they typically prefer network manager. So I swapped over to network manager. Because everybody can use that, where Network D, I'm not a laptop user. I mean, I do occasionally test things on a laptop, but I spend most of my time on a desktop. So I don't really think that often about how Wi-Fi users, especially.
Here's the thing.
This stuff's going to affect them.
I agree with them, because Network Manager also has a package called VPN, where you can add all the free VPN services that you can add for Wi-Fi and Ethernet. You can create so users can create their own VPN connections. Network Manager has that, but in Network D you have to install every single VPN thing separately.
You just drop the file in Etsy WireGuard or Etsy OpenVPN.
Well, it's not only OpenVPN. If you look at, for example, in KDE, so it's for KDE, it's if you go to network settings, add network connection, you have all these different VPN connections. You got like 24 types of VPN connections. It's a package that you include, and it works with Network Manager.
Yeah, I don't use VPN, so I'm not too worried about it.
Well, a lot of users do, so I have
they can install it themselves.
I'm
not trying to install a million different things. I just tell the driver. And to be honest, how many people really are going to use VPNs? Like, there's going to be people out there, but it's not going to be a majority. Like, you can't try to satisfy every little small group of people.
I cannot
people
say
that want VPNs. They can go figure that out on their own.
I cannot say it's the majority. I cannot judge that.
It's definitely not the majority. Not even close, right?
But a lot of people on my server, they keep asking for that.
Less than 1% of your users probably use a VPN. Let's be real.
But it's
you're too generous, Steve. I like the minute somebody brings something like that up to me, I was like, yeah, no, shutting it down. No way. But Steve's like, I'm gonna make it work.
I got the same remark when one person on my server was like, yeah, I tried to install snaps. I couldn't because snaps are not enabled on Zero Linux. I was like, Zero Linux does not support snaps out of the box, nor should it. But then after 15 minutes, I updated my tool with a script that installs snapd and enables.
Well, that's another thing I didn't talk about on the first stream about that ISO. I'm sure people that have used it noticed snaps and flatpaks and app image are already installed. Like, there's no snaps or flatpaks or app images that are actually programs that are installed, but they're all enabled. You
I
can
know
use
that
them.
you're using PAMAC all, not the PAMAC snap or PAMAC
Because the
Flatpak.
people that would use PAMAC really don't care where their packages come from. They just want the package.
I used to think the same way when I started, but then I decided to fork the straight from Manjaro source from GitLab, manjaro.gitlab, and modifying it to have Flatpak, AUR, but no snaps. If they want snaps, they have to enable separately. I ended up removing the script that I created to enable snaps from my tool the same day. Like 20 minutes later, I pushed another update. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna give them the satisfaction to enable snaps that easy. So I changed the button in the FAQ section of the tool. They click that, they get redirected to the forums where I used the. I wrote a guide on how to install and enable, and I mentioned if you're doing it, you're suicidal. You're doing it on your own risk. At your own risk.
Well, my thinking was anybody that was going to use PAMAC really doesn't care about package formats. They'll just have them all installed, and anybody that does care is not going to use PAMAC. They're going to uninstall it, and while they uninstall it, they can go ahead and uninstall Snapd and Flatpak or whatever. You know that. Like the people that don't want it are not the problem. As well, they'll figure out how to get rid of what they. It's the people that.
And also Snapd on the AUR is outdated by 3 months.
Yeah.
They're not updating it. I'm like, what the hell?
Well,
I'm like,
it's hard to find package maintainers. A lot of things on the AUR.
like
there's some things that are incredibly out. Actually. Not just in the AUR when you think about it, actually in the Arch repos, there's some things that are incredibly out of date.
Yeah, like I know Simple Screen Recorder was dropped because it doesn't support Wayland, but the maintainers, the creators of Simple Screen Recorder on their website, they tell users it's still being maintained just for X11. So what did the Arch Linux what did Arch Linux do? They moved it to the AUR.
Well, that would make sense to do that if they know people like on GNOME that are going to be defaulting to Wayland might install it and wonder why it's broken. If you move it to the AUR, then people actually have to go out of their way to get it, and hopefully they read a little bit before they install it.
I packaged it up and hosted on my own repo for those very few users who still are on, or all the users that are still on X11 and want a Simple Screen Recorder. But the lib32 library, the 32-bit library for Simple Screen Recorder, is orphaned, and it's required though. It's still required by a Simple Screen Recorder to do some things, but it's orphaned. What the hell? It's worse. It's
well,
worse.
I'm trying my best, and I've been maintaining that repo of software that I've been using forever. I've always tried to not put anything in it that I don't absolutely need. Like, unless it's something that needs to be there to build DTOS, to install it from the script or build the ISO, I'm not trying to package everything in the world myself just to package it.
No, I'm not.
Let these people go to the AUR, and if things are broken in the AUR and they come to me and say, hey, can you fix it? Can you fix the package build and make it work? Nope. Yeah, I probably could, but I'm not going to. Like, no. Go find that maintainer and go message him. His email is at the top of the package build. And send me my email, see if he'll fix it.
But for XeroLinux, if you look at the repo on GitHub, it's 500 packages, but most of the packages are dependencies of packages that I want to build. Instead of having to get the dependencies from AUR, they're part of my repository, so it will install correctly. They're mostly like 90% is dependencies. Some packages have so many dependencies, especially when it comes to Rust packages. Ay, cara mia, so many dependencies. Yeah. So anyway, I want to mention something, so I get Josh to talk because he's been silent.
I'm actually working on something here, so but I'll listen. I'll pay attention.
Compiling Gentoo.
No, actually.
Before we got interrupted by this mess of Jitsi thing, I was talking of a lot of people were on my server were requesting something stable, a stable version that they can just install and never have to worry about any issues happening out of the blue. I was like, such a thing does not exist because a distribution is only as stable as the user using it. So I was like, there's one idea, Debian version of Zero Linux. Debian. I'm not talking Ubuntu. I'm talking Debian with all the things that users do after the installation, like enable Flatpaks, like enable this and that. And it will be using GNOME because GNOME is the most stable desktop environment when we talk about desktop environments. And it has the best Wayland support between all desktop environments.
How do
I'm
you
not
say GNOME is the most stable desktop environment?
It's not the most, but one of the most stable.
Well, we've got desktop environments that literally see a new release like every 5 years.
I'm talking about out of the
GNOME is
major.
definitely not the most stable.
I'm talking about out of the major ones, the top three. Out of the top
like
three,
XFCE is on a whole nother level of stability compared to GNOME.
no, because
Yes, it is.
XFCE is a nightmare, especially when you want to customize.
But that's
And
got
it's-
nothing to do with stability. I'm talking about updates, changes, breakage.
well,
Nothing
Yeah.
ever changes in XFCE.
well, that's true, but it doesn't have Wayland support. For the people who want to jump on Wayland support on Wayland and prefer Wayland, I cannot answer them if I use.
Well, that's a different topic. That's got nothing to do with stability either. Like,
Well, okay, stability while having Wayland support. Let's put it this way. Stability while
so
having.
we're just talking about GNOME and KDE. Okay, I got it. Those are only desktop environments.
Okay, you caught
All right.
me. But okay, between GNOME and KDE, it's GNOME that I would be
And
selected.
clearly, GNOME is more stable than KDE on Wayland. Like we all get that, right?
Yeah. So
Right now.
right now, that is true. But why not a Debian version of Zero Linux with GNOME and Wayland support out of the box, but not default? Why not? If they want that kind of distro, why not? Because we know that Debian doesn't update a lot of stuff very often. So when GNOME 45 comes out, it's going to be until next release of Debian until it receives the GNOME 45. So they're going to be on a very stable version of Zero Linux for a year, basically.
No, well, Debian releases like every 2 years.
Okay, every 2 years.
Every
Even better
2
for
years,
me.
and then
Let's-
it stays in support cycle for 5 years by the Debian project, and it's offloaded to another project that will maintain it for another 2 years after that, and then there's commercial options for an additional 10 years.
Yeah, you can pay for extra support.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that'll be less work for me when it comes to that one. Much
Well,
less work.
obviously, basing off of a stable distribution rather than a rolling release distribution is less work. Like
Yeah,
that's-
and
that's
less
not-
less
that's not an
breakages.
opinion. That's just fact, right? Obviously, it's less work.
Yeah, and
You're
less
only
break-
building an ISO once every 2 years at that point, too.
Yeah, and
Right.
not only less work, but less breakages.
Yeah.
So why not? That's gonna be a project for the future.
I'm actually
Uh,
surprised that like that one NixOS user didn't show up in the chat yet.
Oh no, you're not talking of Matt's annoying user.
Not even that, just like any one NixOS user, because there's only one, but he changes his name every time. I'm waiting for it to happen.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about that.
Zero Nix. Huh?
Well,
It-
I'm
it-
using NixOS at the moment.
Okay, we found him, guys. We found him. He decided to name himself Christian at the moment.
No, actually, I'm the first time joining this. It's the first time I'm joining.
Well, every time I hear somebody talk about a stable distribution, there's always that one guy somewhere that mentions NixOS. No, I'm not doing that.
I mean, NixOS is an interesting
No.
concept, but if you're trying to put something out there for the masses, for everyone, that's probably not the distribution that
No,
you would
it's
put
definitely
everybody on. I mean, let's be real. That's more of like you kind of have to be a geek, to be a Nix user. You can like you almost have to be a nerd.
Problem
It's
with
required.
NixOS
Like, you have to have your
is-
nerd card.
Problem with NixOS is that it is, while it is powerful, problem is that it is all one file that you have to edit, and everybody have to edit that file.
Yeah.
There isn't just a install you can do or point it to a specific configuration somewhere. You have to
I mean, I
either
love
copy
the way Nix
configuration.
and Geeks
Actually,
do their
Big
thing,
Pod,
but it's
Have you
not.
looked at the Snowflake OS project?
No.
Okay, because they're addressing that issue.
I've
There are better ways of addressing that issue already.
yeah.
Just don't use Nix.
Yep.
Oh wow! I just noticed in my RSS feeds, Flatpak lands support for Wayland security context.
Okay.
Okay, has merged support for the Wayland security context protocol. Whoa, that's interesting. Finally.
Yeah, in the chat, every 2 years is too frequent. Well, I mean, I guess you don't have to move to a new distribution in that 2 years. They put a new ISO out in 2 years, but you can actually use Debian up to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And then
So it's still you're still gonna get security updates for 5 years, but in 2 years you'll get a new ISO that you could move to if you want to, but you don't have to. You could keep it.
Yeah. So I'm
Same
really
thing with Ubuntu LTS. Ubuntu LTS releases every 2 years, but you could keep running your current Ubuntu LTS up to 5 years after its initial release. And the repos will still be active. After 5 years, though, you're going to turn off the repos, and you better move to something else.
Yeah. They turn off the repos? This is how they work?
Well, yeah, because they're not gonna keep updating it after that point. So you're gonna do an update, and you're not gonna get anything. Same thing with their interim releases. After 9 months, the repos don't work anymore.
Well, can't users update their repositories to the latest ones instead of having to reinstall a friend?
Yeah, you could, but at that point, you should have already reinstalled or run through the update process the right way at that point.
Yeah, so dist upgrade, right? Isn't the command dist upgrade, and it will update the repositories and then grab the new packages?
No, but you still have to edit the Etsy source file. That way you can actually know what repositories to pull from, because apt is inherently a stupid package manager and doesn't know how to self-update its own repository.
Oh, we're going to get into this
because
there is a debate to be had about
than Pac-Man. So.
I was about to say, I knew where Big Pod was about to go with that, because Big Pod hates Pac-Man. So apt versus Pac-Man, which is the better package manager?
I mean,
I have some opinions on this.
Okay, I have opinions too. The best package manager is Portage, because the only thing Portage can't do is update itself.
The fact that I have to do an apt,
it's a half of a package manager.
There's one thing that I never had to do with Pac-Man that I have to do in apt all the time. Auto remove. Boom. Done. End of conversation. When you have to auto remove stuff all the time, and it doesn't do it on its own, it just gives you that annoying message, hey, you should occasionally run this command. Well, why don't you do it? Why are you telling me to run it?
Well, Pac-Man, I tend to agree with Big Pod for once. I don't know by what miracle I agree with Big Pod, but Pac-Man can be so stupid at times. Yeah. It gets me out of my element. It's
recording in progress.
Uh-oh. I didn't mean to share my screen.
You didn't share the screen. It started recording.
It said this meeting is being recorded.
Oh, and it's prompting me to upgrade before it kills our meeting here.
It says we got 10 minutes still.
Does it?
Yep, it says it in the upper right or upper left. I mean,
now it does.
Remaining minutes 9:45.
If you upgrade
I hate to upgrade just for one meeting, because we'll probably be back on Jitsi next month, assuming I can find some way to log in. If I have to, I'll just spin up a Jitsi server. I don't know. Maybe that'll solve the problem.
Or
it's quite easy actually to spin up.
Yeah, I mean,
5 minutes.
I'm a DigitalOcean customer. I'm sure they have a droplet that you press one button and it creates a server for you. So.
Yeah, and you don't have to. You can.
And that way, if I'm going to pay somebody a few bucks a month instead of paying Zoom, I'll pay DigitalOcean a few bucks a month for, that Jitsi server.
And if it gives you the option to disable that login requirement.
Well, I mean, at that point, I shouldn't have to log in using the web, I wouldn't think, because. But I don't know. That's an interesting point.
On your own instance, it doesn't require it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think, because that would be a kind of a strange work. Like, who am I verifying it to? Because it's my server, right?
Oh, interesting. But since we have 8 minutes left, 8 minutes and a half, I just want to say, because I talked the most right in this episode, I want to leave the
every episode.
The most in every episode that you're in.
We already knew where that was going.
Okay, I will shut up. Okay, guys, you talk.
All right, so those of you that want to actually have a proper Emacs working on an ISO, also one thing you need to do in /Etsy, not /Etsy, /user share fonts on the Arch ISO, make sure you put all the icon related fonts. So that's going to be your like WebDev font pack, the Oct icons, the weather icons, Font Awesome. There's like 5 or 6 icon packs that make up all the icon packs that Emacs uses. If you just put those on the ISO, Emacs doesn't have to install all those manually. That's a tip.
Yeah.
I've already done that on DTOS, by the way. I'm just letting Dark Zero know because he may start shipping Emacs by default.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that's true. In fact, he might even set up like a EXWM on Zero Linux. Just call it the Zero Emacs.
EXWM, and I don't think Steve would like that.
He probably wouldn't, but he'll probably.
I'm an Emacs user, and I don't like that. No. I mean, I like it. It's a good concept as far as the workflow is fine. It's buggy.
My solution for Emacs the session is to actually use Cage, which is a Wayland compositor that's specific for running kiosk applications. So basically, I'm running minimum viable Wayland compositor that outputs just Emacs.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys, we got 6 minutes till we have to switch to a different Zoom room.
Okay.
All right.
So this is going to be the shortest DT cast.
No, we're gonna keep it going.
We're gonna come back and do at least another 40-minute session. So we'll just all have to. I'll have to post on Patreon a new room here in a minute. I create a new room and give you guys the link. It'll just take us like a minute to get back in.
And while you're still streaming, so it's going to be a small cut in between.
Well, I can still talk to the stream while you guys are joining, so the people watching, they're not going to have too much dead time.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I don't want to talk about Zero Linux anymore. Every time I bring it up, I'm repeating myself.
In the meantime, we can talk about DistroTube. I feel like it low-key calling me out in the thumbnail of his last stream. Because, just about every single Arch distribution that I go, it's like, yeah, this is just another goddamn Arch distribution. Which, by the way, DTOS is, in fact, just another Arch Linux distribution, so you're fine.
I'd have to think about what stream you're talking about.
The one where you're talking... The last one you did with DTOS.
Oh. Yeah, yet another pointless distro?
Yeah.
What about it?
It is, in fact, very pointless because it's just Arch Linux with Qtile and Emacs. I could just git clone your dot files and get the same thing.
That's true.
You would think, but...
Oh, here's DT. Here's the inner distro maintainer DT coming out.
Yep. Josh has attacked. It's time. Let's hear it.
Not everything's in the dot files repo. I've got everything online, but they're not all in one repo.
Okay, so then I just need to enable the DistroTube Pacman repository.
That's what all you have to do is enable the repository and just
install everything in the repo.
Right? And it's not a lot. It's not, yeah.
Like I recently was part of Chris Titus Tech's stream. Where we talked about because the way he spun the question, nobody spins the question like he did, because he's the one who initiated the pointless distro discussion when he did his tier list. So when the way he spun his questions was like, what makes Zero Linux not another pointless distro? That's what he meant by his question, but he asked it in a different way. He caught me off guard. I was like, I had nothing.
I was like, I got no answer.
I got no answer because it is yet another pointless distro because everything is from the AUR. You can just install everything from the AUR. You can just modify my scripts instead of installing from a repo to install from AUR, and you got Zero Linux without having to actually install Zero Linux. So I was like, you caught me off guard. What am I going to answer to that? What answer do I have to that? So I was like, we deep-loaded KDE? That's the only answer I had.
You deep-loaded KDE and gave it an objectively worse panel. Good job.
Well, I mean, it all depends on the user and what the user... Well, it's all opinion, obviously. It's what the user finds important. Right.
Yeah.
Like some people, it's all about package management. For some people, it's all about the init system. Like, does it use systemd? It's not for me. Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's like that. But most computer users, it's all about the GUI. Yeah. And that's what I made that video a few days ago too. What's Linux distribution for most normal computer users? I stress that normal computer users. What makes a distro? It's that GUI. Because that's all they ever interact with.
Yeah.
They don't go under the hood for anything, right? They don't go to the shell.
That's
all the GUI.
That's what Chris said. It was like, you are doing what the user will not bother doing. So you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
That's what your distro is. It's
not
making it easier for the user.
I think the user in many cases will bother doing it. It's just they shouldn't have to. Like GNOME out of the box, KDE out of the box, XFCE out of the box don't have sane defaults. None of those three desktop environments have sane defaults out of them. The user has to go change something, especially KDE. Horrible defaults in KDE.
Horrible, the worst. That's what I did in KDE. I disabled Baloo. I disabled all the unnecessary bloated services. So I did that for the user because the user is not, at the end of the day, they're not going to hunt. Where are the services? How do I turn this off? How do I turn that off? So I did it for them. That's what what makes a distro. It's not just a GUI.
All right. Well, we got 60 seconds here. I'm just going to go ahead and hang up on this one and start a new one. So give me about 30 seconds. You guys will have a link in Patreon.
Okay. Where's Patreon?
Okay.
Oh my goodness. It looks like I was recording this thing. Oh, I don't want that to be saved to a file. Zoom, what are you doing to me? Oh, I've got to wait for this file to convert before it'll let me do a new meeting. All right, guys, give me just a second here. Those of you watching. All right, guys, you're just looking at my desktop right now. So the problem with Zoom, I don't have an account with them, and I have to wait 10 minutes before creating a new room, and I can't log into Jitsi right now. So that may be the end of this patrons chat. A very abbreviated patrons chat. I can't get my camera camera right now either, because my camera was being used by Zoom when I started the stream, so therefore can't switch back to it without killing OBS and restarting it. But I do want to thank all of you guys for being here. I'm going to kill the stream. If I come up with some other streaming solution in the next few minutes, I may restart the stream. Otherwise, this has just been a complete disaster for this month's Chat with Patrons. We have so many of these disasters trying to do these live conference calls, and I don't really have a solution. I mean, Zoom would be a solution. It's proprietary software, which I don't mind paying for it and using it if it works, and it does work. I'm using Jitsi because it's obviously free proprietary software, or free and open source software, and it does kind of work, but I wasn't prepared for their new login requirement changes, and for whatever reason on my system, it just doesn't let me log in. So, let's see. You guys in the chat, you got any quick questions and comments before I go? Let's see, don't ship Emacs pre-configured. That's not the Emacs way. Well, it is the Emacs way if people don't know how to configure Emacs. If you know how to configure Emacs, then obviously you don't have to use my config. You just go into .config/Emacs and just delete everything and start over. That's literally like a 5-second fix if you don't want to use my Emacs config. All you got to do is just delete it. You're not forced to use it. Nothing's ever going to be reinstalled that will give you my config after that point. So that's not a problem at all. If you're not going to use my Emacs config, you absolutely don't have to use it. But obviously, I'm shipping it with my config, so people that have never used Emacs have a little easier time getting into it because it's already configured with evil mode and a lot of key bindings set up and things like that. Where if you're beginning from just straight vanilla GNU Emacs, not configured in any way, and then you have to spend weeks, well, really, you got to spend months configuring that thing if you don't know how to, because there's a big learning curve. You know, that's a big deal. Google Meet is also time limited. Last I checked, I don't know anything about Google Meet. I've never used it, so I'm not even going to try to, like, that's going to be something I probably spend 15-20 minutes on and then still couldn't get it to work, kind of like what I was doing with Jitsi earlier. And that's just bad for the stream. You know, nobody wants to watch that or just sit here while nothing's going on while I try to figure out something that I don't normally use. So now we'll come up with some solution for next month's Patrons Chat. Hopefully we'll be back on Jitsi. My guess is probably I'll just spin up a Jitsi server. Josh says, try the Jitsi room I made. What problem is when I join somebody else's room, the audio's all jacked up. We get echo because of how I'm recording the audio streams. It's just a mess. Every time I joined your room earlier, it was this infinite loop of audio, and it's going to be the same again. So let's not do that. Let's not hurt people. Nextcloud's Talk plugin. Yeah, that uses Jitsi, though. I don't know if it would require a login, but yeah, that could also work. We may try that one next month. Well, I'll try that out before next month and see if it works. If not, I'll just spin up a Jitsi server. Yeah, it's the audio setup. It's the recording. You know, because when I'm recording my own Jitsi call, I'm not actually recording my audio through Jitsi. I'm recording my audio through my microphone. And then I'm recording the desktop audio, which is everybody else. Well, if I join your stream, I'm still recording my microphone, but I'm also recording the desktop audio, except now the desktop audio does include me. And that's why we were getting that infinite loop. So I know that's the problem. So you know what, Josh, why don't you go to your Jitsi room and I will join, and if I can fix the audio, we'll keep going. Let's try it. We'll give it one last try. If I can't fix it within about a couple of minutes, then we'll kill the stream. Because again, we don't want to annoy people with an infinite audio loop. Because they're going to get it, at least for a few minutes, until I try to fix it. All right. So right now, nobody's going to be able to hear me, which is good. That's what we want, because we would get the loop. So now, input devices. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And I hear you guys.
Well, that's good.
And I'm not getting a loop, but let's wait a few seconds just to make sure.
You have the YouTube player itself actually muted, right?
The YouTube player.
Yeah. It on.
Oh, you're talking about? I don't have the stream open.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously we would be getting the desktop audio from the stream too if I had. But I always have that muted. Even if I do have the stream open, I'm never listening to it.
Hey guys.
So I think that fixed it. I don't know why. I did nothing different this time joining this call than I did the previous calls. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange.
So I'm seeing this mentioned an awful lot in the chat, but the Google Meet and Google Talk and Google Duo, when it comes to like these large scale conference calls with like more than 5 participants, it's actually time limited to 10 minutes unless you start paying Google actual money.
Yeah.
So that is not a working solution.
Yeah.
Well, I always kept my Zoom subscription up to date. I had a Zoom subscription for 2 or 3 years for this channel.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we do the Zoom calls, because for a long time, Jitsi was kind of bad there for a while. It's gotten a lot better. But the other reason I like Zoom is the audio quality and the video quality are good. And if you're recording, that's kind of important. I hate Discord as far as its audio and video quality. It's not good at all. Jitsi's better.
Yeah, Discord video quality is
so bad. Yeah, I don't know what is going on the back end with them, but I would never purposely record. Like if I was doing an interview with somebody, I would never tell them, meet me on a Discord call. Like that would be the absolute last product, meet me on Skype before we meet on Discord. And then I hate to say that.
Have better quality. There is a way to get better quality. You have to pay money.
To Discord, yeah, like I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay money to the Discord.
I think you have to have like 3 or 4 boosts on a channel to even get better quality video. It's horrible.
Oh yeah, for everyone. Or you can put a just for you.
But I don't know. That would be weird. Pay money so you get better audio video quality, or you could just use a different conference program that actually works.
I
use Microsoft Teams.
Can we just get Firefox Hello back, please? It just worked.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I got rid of my Zoom subscription because I was paying it, and I don't use it very often at all. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year I would need Zoom. I'd meet somebody on Zoom because I was going to do something on camera. They didn't have Jitsi, which I typically use. Well, you got Zoom? Well, I got Zoom too, but it got to the point where I hadn't used Zoom in so long I canceled my subscription.
Yeah, it's not
and now I kind of need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Steve, what are you doing? Oh, I am on? Oh.
Yeah, yes.
I didn't know. Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay. You were making funny faces. Yeah. So somebody sent me a picture of a DeLorean with Domino's pizzas on it that says, "For when you need a pizza yesterday." Oh golly!
And DeLoreans, yeah, that was like the worst cars ever.
Yeah, but
and, like literally. Like,
by the way,
lost in history. Nobody would ever even mention the DeLorean except for Back to the Future because they featured the crappiest car ever as the time machine.
Yeah. By the way, Derek,
I did copy your network manager thing from your ISO repo, and for some reason on mine, it still didn't enable. I don't know what the heck I'm doing wrong, but
are you enabling it in the Calamares
services module? But for some reason, when I boot the ISO up using the method that we talked about, for some reason, whether or not the network manager service is linked, it doesn't pick it up when I boot up the ISO. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know. I mean, we'd have to take a look at.
Yeah, I was wondering when would be good for you to help me with that, by some chance.
Well, we can take a look at it maybe this afternoon or this evening.
Whatever
I'll be home.
Works for you. I don't have anything planned today.
Yeah, because it's probably something really, really simple. It's not going to be.
Yeah, we can look at it after the show if that works for you.
Yeah, it'll probably be something won't take 5 minutes to fix. So.
Anyway, guys, I'm coming to you from the Steam Deck. So in case
you're on a Steam Deck, Steve?
Yeah, Zero Linux on the Steam Deck. I showed it on Chris Titus Tech stream.
Nice.
So, the Steam Deck is a freaking laptop. Come on, guys. We cannot ignore that.
It's an appliance.
It's a laptop. No, but seriously, it works. I did the whole entire stream with Chris Titus off of the Steam Deck. The only issue with it is encoding video while streaming hammers the APU. It hammers it in the hell.
Why are you trying to stream on essentially a Nintendo Switch? Like, what are you doing, man?
I want to save on the electric bill. Come on, guys. I'm in Lebanon. I'm not in the US of A.
Well, you know that thing does not have a CPU that's going to allow you to stream.
Well, it does. It just hammers the CPU. I cannot do anything else.
Because you can't stream.
I can stream, but I can't do anything else in the same time.
You're going to have a serious problem with the CPU on that.
Yeah. Well, as long as it works and saves me power, I'm good. I'm not building Zero Linux on it. I'm just building the packages I host. No, I do build packages from the AUR on it. It just takes a while, but it works. It does its job. And I can't get the battery. It's always connected to power, but I can't get the battery to show 100%. It always gets stuck at like 90. I don't know why. I killed the battery, maybe. I don't know. But hey, we are Linux users. We tinker with hardware the way we tinker with Linux.
Yeah. Well, at least we got back into yet a third room that we're trying out here for Jitsi.
Yeah.
And then we had the Zoom room as well.
Yeah. Well,
we might end up in Microsoft Teams before the end of the stream. Who knows? We still got some time.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
I don't even have Teams installed on here.
I don't either. That was a joke, Ben. Don't worry. Ben's about to go search for a package.
Do not, whatever you do not install the Electron version that is on the AUR if you're on Arch, because it uses deprecated Electron 20, Electron 19, or Electron.
So does Discord.
Yeah, a lot of packages don't use the latest Electron.
Guys. Hold on. Worst comes to worst, guys, we can just use Josh's Discord channel at the worst case, if we have to.
And yeah, okay.
I mean, that's sort of like
I'd much rather Derek make his own Discord server. That way he can set up all the Patreon integrations and do it the right way, rather than rely on off of mine.
Rather than rely on a pre-made one. Yeah.
Because
I'd prefer just not to do that at all.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
And Derek, you taught me a new word that I'm using and overusing now. It's called zealots.
Yeah.
Linux zealots. You call yourself a Linux zealot. So
no, I call myself a free software zealot.
Free software zealot.
Not necessarily Linux, because I could use a different free operating system. Like if Linux didn't exist, it's not like I'm tied to Linux. I could be a BSD user. I mean, I could move to Haiku. I could move to a lot of different things that I could make other things work.
So, Steve, I muted you because I see a lot of people saying that the audio is echoing from you.
I don't get that. But I'm not monitoring the stream. Any of you guys monitoring the stream?
I'm looking at it, and Neo and a couple of others are saying that Steve's audio is.
I can move to a lot of different things that work.
Yeah.
Here, let me
Steve,
just briefly.
Steve, unmute yourself in Jitsi. Just focus the Jitsi window and hit the M key. There we go.
No, he's frozen.
Nah, he's unfrozen. He's not frozen. Try talking.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, I'm talking.
You sound fine to me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're saying there's an echo, so we'd have to monitor the stream to hear it, because obviously we're not getting it, but none of us are actually listening to YouTube. So.
Well, to me, nobody's echoing. I'm not echoing, and
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know. I call myself anti-zealot. I am not a zealot. Like when a user comes to me and he says, "Use Windows," I tell him I do use Windows when I need it.
Obviously, we're not
I
getting
do
it, but
use
none of
Mac
us.
OS when I need it. So
Give me just a second. I'm gonna monitor the stream.
And
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know. I call myself.
I'm monitoring the stream, and he sounds fine to me. I have no idea.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I
yeah.
only listened to him for about 5 seconds, but I heard no echo.
So all I was saying is, let you if you are a user who uses Windows
Sounds like
or
it's room echo, actually.
well,
Yeah, but that shouldn't be annoying.
Oh.
I'm assuming they're talking about like some kind of weird feedback.
That we can actually hear you guys.
Dang.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. My webcam's going back and forth.
yeah. So what I was saying was,
Steve, they're saying it's just you. Maybe
Let me
maybe leave the room and come back. Maybe try that. I don't know.
okay.
I don't know. That's just weird, because everyone here is on the desktop audio stream. So why would it just affect Steve? If there was some kind of feedback, it would affect every single one of us. So it's something on his end.
Him.
I would assume, but I don't know. Very weird.
How about that? Is that better?
Well, I'm not monitoring the stream, so let me.
I changed input. I selected the echo cancel.
So why would it? Give me a few seconds to monitor the stream once you join back into the room on the stream, because we're about 20-30 seconds behind. Very. Yeah, still waiting. There you are.
No, it sounds fine to me.
I'm not monitoring the stream, so let me.
I changed input. So
I don't hear any echo when I'm listening to you.
Well,
Yeah.
guys.
Let's speak a few minutes.
Well, anyway, I'm gonna keep talking a little bit. Maybe the guys in the chat will mention it.
They say it's okay now, so all right.
Yeah, I selected the echo cancel sync now instead of the mic itself. That's something I learned from Zany. He's the one who figured it out in Pipewire. So maybe that was it. So
Yeah, I don't know.
Users, do you hear any echo again?
In the YouTube chat, they say it's okay. It's weird. I don't know why it was just you, because we didn't hear it, but on YouTube, all of us should be on all on the same audio stream. So that would be weird for just you to be echoing. And
Don't you love Linux, people? I love it.
I don't know.
It keeps me sane with all the issues. It keeps me sane and on my feet.
Yeah.
Because if it becomes stable, I would be bored out of my mind.
We'll get it worked out on the next one. The problem is, because obviously it's not a Jitsi room that is mine. If that caused us a lot of problems with the audio on my end. So, and then we'll fix that next time, because I'm going to spin up a Jitsi server. That way next time will
You have
be.
at least when you spin up a Jitsi server, you have more granular control over it.
Yeah, it's something that I've been needing to do for a while. I kind of put it off because I even though it's not going to be complicated, just going to take me a few minutes. I didn't want to spend the money on it, really, even though it's just going to be a few bucks. It's like, well, I only use Jitsi like a couple times a month, probably on average.
Yeah,
It's not something that.
And today, for whatever reason, my ISP is cooperating perfectly. It's not dropping anything, and I can see everybody's cameras without losing mine at the same time. It's wow, miracle, marriage and a wedding and a good connection. Not bad.
Yeah.
But DT, there's if you want, you can fix that login thing on your DTOS. Instead of having users to log in with DTOS, you can have it auto login.
I can have it auto log in. Yeah, that's just a minor thing. I haven't got. There were so many big problems I had to fix this week. I just hadn't got around to it.
How does it feel becoming a semi-distro maintainer?
Yeah, about the same as it had been feeling with the script. I'd been dealing different issues, but I had the same. The first couple of weeks with the DTOS installation script, I had the same. Like I had a lot of major breaking kind of issues that I had to pull my hair out try to solve.
But with the post installation script, it was easier to create the symlinks and the stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't even try with the post. I did try, but it never worked. Like the Emacs stuff, I always had them build Emacs themselves. And I can compile it. I gave them the config, but it built the packages. It took like 10-15 minutes to build the packages. With the ISO, I was determined I wasn't going to make people do that this time, and that caused me a lot of headache. I should have just had them build it themselves, but I was like, I'm going to make this work. That way, nobody has to sit there and.
Yeah, like the same thing with me. Like I just realized yesterday that I forgot to enable FS trim on any of my ISOs since I began. I had to add the service yesterday, so for the next release, it's going to be enabled. But
I like the ISO, like you're talking about, like the login. I mean, I would assume most people can figure out the login is the same as the username. But for those that can't, I mean, I'll fix that at a later time. I've got like a list of like 30 things I needed to fix, like that immediately I spotted needed to fix, and like 3 or 4 of them were like critical. Like, hey, this is completely broken for some users until I fix it. So I had to fix those before I get to like giving them the login credentials. Hey, they can go read the GitLab issues, because on my GitLab for DTOS ISO, it has all of that information. But I'll eventually enable that. Probably in the next week, I'll get to some of the smaller stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun. You got to admit it. It's fun.
Your idea of fun and mine are a little different.
Well, for me, I find it fun when you have a challenge. You have like an issue you need to figure out because it's kind of annoying and things. But I don't look at it as annoying. I look at it as a challenge to myself, to my knowledge. It challenges my knowledge.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yay! Another issue, another challenge.
As far as auto logging into SDDM, how are you going to do that, Steve?
There's a zlogin script in. Let me check.
Because I know how I would do it. I was just going to see if it was the same way that you were using.
Let me tell you, it's in.
Because I was just going to set the SDDM config to automatically log in with the Qtile.
It's in. It's in ARRootFS root.zlogin.
Zlogin.
Yeah. And then there's a script called. It points to a script called automated login script. And it has a lot of information. It's just the one I forked from Arco Linux.
No.
Oh, Steve, just to let you know, do not enable FS trim if ButterFS is a file system. It's completely not necessary.
Oh.
Yeah, because ButterFS default mounts options will enable discard for you.
Wait, no. the way I did it was I have my own custom ButterFS mount flags. FSTrim is not part of them because I enable the FSTrim service. I chose it that way.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm not
So
using
you're-
ButterFS FSTrim.
Well, I know you're not. I know you're not using it as a default, but I just wanted to check on that real quick.
Yeah, I copied the ones from Arco Linux, and then I started modifying them according to some to the Arch Wiki and removing. And I realized that if I want to enable FSTrim as a service or a timer, I can't have the ButterFS one enabled at the same time. They're gonna be it's gonna tire the SSD much faster. So you got FSTrim running and then the ButterFS optimizations running at the same time. It doesn't. So I had to disable the ButterFS one to enable FSTrim. So that's the only way I could figure out. Maybe there's a better way. But for now, that's how.
I gotta admit, Steve, you kind of surprised me with your solution for the auto login of SDDM because I know you love sed substitutions. And I figure all you would do if you ship in /etc/SDDM or what the config file and you already have it set to auto login, then you could use a shell process to run a simple sed substitution afterwards to change it back, turn it off for the live user.
You caught
my solution is even fancier.
What?
I just changed. No, I just changed the display manager service to just auto boot directly into the actual environment rather than relying on a display manager.
Well,
but then you still have to change. Well, the same thing. You'd have to during the Calamares installer have it turn all that back on.
Well, yeah.
But yes, it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah, but DT, just to clarify, you caught me because the Z login just enables the auto login service. And the way I actually log in is by substituting with sed.
Yeah, you just do a quick sed substitution, that one line in the config file. That's all you need.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I completely forgot. But yeah, there's live user. The SDDM on the live environment has auto login live user. But when you're installing with Calamares, it nullifies that. But if you check the box to auto login, it repopulates it with the actual username.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you caught me. Wow, you're so correct.
And the only reason I knew you love sed substitutions is because I took a look at some of the stuff on your GitHub page the other day. And you had a bunch of scripts somewhere. And like every other line in every single one of your scripts is a sed command. I was like, man, this dude really loves sed. Wait till he finds out about awk. He's gonna love it.
I saw it in your videos. But it's more complex.
For simple substitution, sed is easier, but you're gonna love awk once you start needing to pull out certain fields out of information. Because that's what I had to do with the sim linking. That was a problem. I had to basically do some commands to generate some output that gave me the file name and the target of the symlink as part of the output, and then use awk to get each field, and then make all those right again.
Sounds like it's better said than done.
Yeah. Or you could always use something like the cut command too to pull out. It's it's kind of like everything at the shell. There's like 12 different ways to do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
that's like construction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I choose the and not only that, I use a lot when I get stuck. I use ChatGPT a lot, and ChatGPT always mentions you for ease of use sed command. Sed this with that. But there's one thing I don't know how to do with sed is I have an option in my tool where users can update their pacman.conf because I had to maintain grub for the time being because grub and XFS currently don't work well together. So I was like, how can I add my repository, the new repository, on top without having to back up the current pacman.conf and wget mine, because users might have supplemental repositories in their pacman.conf. So I still don't know how to do that. So if
you can't just have a separate command to make a backup before you write to theirs.
I do have a command that backs up. What I'm saying is instead of having to back up and replace the file itself, why not back up and add my repository to an existing pacman.conf. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
You copy their existing file to a new file, the backup file, and then do the said substitution on their existing.
I don't know I don't know with said how to add a line on top of another line.
If you're just adding a line, what you would do, you would just do a simple echo the line, and then
not a line. It's
and append it to the file. You know how to append a line to a file.
No, I'm saying the repo name and the repo URL and the you know how you add a repo to pacman.conf, those 3 lines.
So you don't need to substitute anything. You're adding 3 new lines.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
You echo it and then append it to the file.
Yeah, but I want to append it at the top in a certain location in pacman.conf, because if I add it at the bottom, then grub from Arch repositories will still be installed. I want the grub from my repositories to always be the default.
I will tell you a trick. Just replace the first line of how Arch does of Arch, and just replace it with your own enter and Arch's thing.
Oh, well, where is the Arch thing?
The top one. Replace what is normally the top one with your and empty line.
No, the top one is.
Why not just
needed.
rename your grub package and just install that?
No, that's what I'm doing currently. It backs up the way I have it do it is it backs up the current pacman.conf, and then it wget. It backs up by renaming the current one to .old, and then wget the one from my GitHub to replace the old one.
Yeah, that
I don't want. Yeah, that works. But what if users have extra repositories in theirs, like chaotic AUR? God forbid.
What I'm trying to tell you that even if the one that you still require, you will keep it there. Just replace it use it as an anchor.
So, how? I don't know how.
Take the top first one. Let's say is X.
Yeah.
Let's call it X. The line is X. You replace that with whatever you need, and an empty space and an X. So you on top of that you will get your 3 lines, an empty line, and then it will still be the old one. You will just use it as an anchor to replace it.
Why don't you just do it the Arch way, which is when they ship an update for their pacman.conf, they actually give you pacman.conf.new or backup or what. They give you the new file and then they back up your old file, or vice versa. I forget.
They append to the new to the.
And that way, if the user has made some kind of changes, like adding some repositories, they can manually go back and fix it themselves.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Because honestly, anybody that's added repositories to their pacman.conf is smart enough they can open a text editor and do a copy and paste. And
that's the way I'm doing it right now.
Or maybe just don't bother supporting like other repositories in Xero Linux.
That's what I'm telling people. Don't mix and match other repositories, because most of them they add the chaotic AUR and Arco Linux repositories. I'm like, I have what Arco has. Number one.
Now there are ways, because I've done this before in shell scripting, to insert text in a particular line spot in a config file. You may not want to do that because if they've edited it, you don't know what that line is going to be in their config.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't recommend. It's always best to append it at the very end with the 2 greater than signs.
Yeah.
But if that's not a problem, if that's a problem, what you could do is that last line. If it's the very last line that's the problem.
No, it's the top line. I need my repository. Because I need my repository to supersede the Arch ones. Because otherwise, I am maintaining grub. If I put it underneath core repository.
What if you move grub to the end? Put yours at the end and then move the grub line to the new package every now and then. If they've had some edits, let them go fix that themselves.
I have a line in
instead of you trying to worry about it. Hey, they're the ones that edited it in the first place. Let them. That's because at that point they've already taken on the responsibility of everything all the changes they made. That's their responsibility. Let them deal with it.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. There's a button that's called troubleshoot in my tool now. When they click it, there's a option 6 or 5. I forget which option it is. They select it. What it will do is it will rename the current pacman.conf to pacman.conf.old, and then grab wget, the new pacman.conf, and use that as the main one. And I tell the users, it tells the users, if you have appended more repositories to your pacman.conf, you will find them in the .old file. You just copy them and paste them in the new one. That's it. It's a simple thing. I use a lot of scripts, and in the meetup with Chris Titus Tech, he was like, "Can I steal your scripts? Will they work on a regular Arch distro?" I was like, "Yes, but I prefer to say no." Because
maybe
one or two of them, because they pull packages from my repositories. The others, they're mostly all scripts that enable Wayland, install the required packages from Arch repositories, so they will work on other distros. It's not that they won't. Even you can take some of them if you wanted to. So, but
I'm not doing much with KDE and Wayland. A lot of the scripts I have to create, unfortunately, involve Qtile and Emacs. So, like, I'm doing a lot with those.
Yeah, and by the way, I need to mention the same thing that I don't think Josh will ever get to it on his distro hacking. So I'm gonna mention it to you since you're a window manager guy. It's called NG shell, NWG shell. Sorry, dash shell.
NWG dash shell.
DT, do you know it?
No.
NWG dash shell. It's basically, let me finish. It's basically somebody answering my woes. Is like he turned Hyperland into a semi-desktop environment, GTK desktop environment, with a dock that he created. It's not Plank, it's not Latte dock, it's none of those. He created the dock himself, called NWG dock. He created a top panel called NWG panel that, or it uses OO.
Yeah, so it's kind of like just a panel, a menu system for a window manager. Looks like it can use Sway or Hyperland.
Yeah, the funny thing is that he's packaging up all these things for with a specific Hyperland build, when actually the Hyperland developer writes all the Hyperland tools with Qt libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I found odd, and I told him. He was like, "No, I optimized it for GTK because I prefer GTK application." I was like, "It's a choice," but there's a settings applet for the system where you can select between multiple layouts, and there's in the panel there's a icon. You click, it switches from dark to light. If you selected the Capuchin, for example, it will select the dark Capuchin or the light Capuchin, and it's a neat little thing. And you got your complete separate layout rices that you can switch to using the setting applet, like a GUI settings app that he created for his desktop environment.
Yeah, I mean it's like anything, like creating a desktop environment around a window manager. It's like slapping Polybar and Rofi on top of a window. Like, you got a menu and a panel now. That's all it is, Steve. You seem very excited about. I mean, it looks like a cool project, but
I'm excited because it's got visual settings for Hyperland, for Sway. It's like a GUI thing, not.
Oh, you're excited, yeah, because like the Wayland side of things, they don't have very many of those kinds of tools.
Yeah, and right. It's a window manager that instead of having to mess with settings files, it has a GUI to do that.
Yeah, because I was doing this on OpenBox 16 years ago. I'd installed the OpenBox window manager, and I'd install LX panel, the LXDE panel. I have a panel and the LX menu system. Like, oh, there's my desktop environment now.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's that the configuration files, instead of typing stuff in them, he has a GUI to create configurations for the desktops. I can create my various layouts using a GUI application instead of.
So he's got a GUI tool to edit like the Sway config and the Hyperland config. Okay.
Yes, that's why I'm excited.
Well, that's interesting.
That's why I am excited, because the thing that I hate about Window Manager, one of the things that I hate about Window Managers is the fact that I have to go in there and play with configuration files.
Yeah, I would caution anybody that's going to do something like that, though, be careful. It's okay for some things. Like if you're changing a basic setting that's always going to be in a config file, that's fine. But when you're getting into like a window manager like Qtile that's completely written and configured in Python, or Xmonad and all the Haskell, you have no idea what kind of Python code or Haskell code people are going to eventually write their config, because you can change the default config in a lot of different ways. And when you've got this GUI tool trying to go and find certain lines in a config, it may not always work out.
Yeah, but this GUI tool is amazing. And the best part of it is when you save your profile, you can back it up. So next time when you install NWG shell, it's there. You can pull it, put it in the...
Now, the reason this works on something like Sway, though, is it's not actually configured in a programming language. So like every line in it, it's never going to be changed to something else. Where something like Python code, people are going to write the same thing 10 different ways depending on how they do Python. But yeah, like a Sway config, it would be easy to write a GUI for, because there's just not a lot of you can do with that config. Everybody's config is essentially going to look the same as far as the same lines and in the same places for the most part.
Yeah, it's an interesting project. I when the developer, the maintainer of that or the creator of the project messaged me, I was like, interesting. I never thought window managers configuration files could have a GUI, special hyperlink.
OpenBox was doing that 20 years ago.
Well, I didn't know.
Josh, you're muted. It looks like he's trying to talk.
Because Hyperland does that dynamic reloading thing, it actually does make sense to have a GUI application for it, because Hyperland, you're not actually configuring Hyperland using C++. It has configurations variables that you're adjusting, but it's much more similar to Sway than say like something like Qtile or Xmonad.
It would be very hard to do like a configuration that's written in a real programming language like Awesome written in Lua. It would be very, very difficult to have a GUI that could change anything of importance.
He must have figured it out.
Well, the thing is, those two window managers are not configured in a programming language. That's why it's easy for him. Yeah, if it was written in an actual programming language, there would be way too many variations among people's config. You could never create a GUI front end to it.
Oh, okay.
Because you've seen like the i3 config and the Sway config. Yeah. That's not a real programming language. That's their own syntax. Sway created it to actually set those, and that's the only way to assign a key binding. That's the only way to set a variable in that config. Where in something like Python or Haskell or Lua, you can do a million different things to achieve the same kind of effect, and you don't know the code people would use in that. Where the Sway config is always gonna look the same.
The reason I'm interested is because you know how I kept saying every Patreon cast that I couldn't log into Wayland, and I can't use Wayland, and well, I figured out why the reason was because in SDDM, for whatever reason, you have to select from the drop-down Wayland on all three monitors if you have 3 monitors. If you select if you select Wayland on the center monitor, the other 2 are still stuck in X11, then SDDM will consider itself that it's starting in an X11 session.
That's very strange, because why would that matter?
Ask the SDDM developers, because
they know about it. They know about it.
They don't know about it. I mentioned it to them. They were like, "We'll look into it." Because as soon as I was curious, out of curiosity.
Because every window manager should have reported that by now. Anybody that's ever used a multi-monitor on any Wayland window manager or desktop environment, like GNOME even, or KDE, you think all those users.
All who use SDDM specifically, because SDDM, I was curious. I saw, okay, I am on Wayland here, but in the drop-down, it looks like I'm on X11 on both the other 2 monitors. I was like, how about I switch all of them to Wayland and then try to log in? I was able to log in, no problem. So
Yeah, that's very strange. I'll test that on. I'll test that on my home computer. Well, I can't test that on my home computer. It's got an NVIDIA card.
no, I'm talking about NVIDIA. I am on NVIDIA.
Yeah.
I am on NVIDIA.
Well,
And it
Qtile and NVIDIA. That's the only Wayland window manager I have on my home computer. I'd have to install something else to test it out there, like GNOME or KDE.
Well,
It's going to be for Wayland on NVIDIA specifically. It's either going to be KDE or Hyperland you want to be looking at with, because I don't know how. I don't know if the other compositors actually support NVIDIA yet, because I think GNOME had early patch support for like the EGL streams, which NVIDIA deprecated.
I think GNOME does it the best on NVIDIA, but I'm not sure. I don't have an NVIDIA card anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised to see that KDE logged in on NVIDIA, and I was like happy as I can be, and I started testing OBS, and OBS works just fine on KDE Wayland. But the only problem I have right now is LaTeDoc runs in X Wayland and doesn't understand what monitors are on Wayland. Because
Well, I have Wayland installed on this computer, and I've got an AMD card in this one. I may try to log into some Wayland.
No. I it could be only an NVIDIA thing. I don't know.
Well, I'll find that out real simple. I've got 3 monitors. I'm gonna just choose one on one monitor and see if I get that same issue.
You
Where
have
if
SVDM, right? On that. Yeah, okay. Because
So I don't use Wayland. I've never tried to log into any of these window managers. I think I tried to use Qtile once or twice on this computer for Wayland, but it's not really configured correctly. But I'll probably just quickly install Sway. Just take a few seconds. I'll see if I can replicate that same bug.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you have on your DTOS ISO, you have the entry for i3. What's it called? The Wayland thing in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for Qtile Wayland. Yeah.
Qtile Wayland. You can remove it.
I could.
Yeah, just
I know how to
hash it
remove
out.
it.
Yeah, hash it out.
Yeah, I know how to remove it. I left it in there because I know just the nature of the thing. There will be some people that want to experiment with Wayland.
That's the problem I get.
So I did not want them to have to go create the .desktop file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for me, I just removed it. I removed all the.
And if I remove it, the next time Qtile has an update, it's going to install the .desktop file anyway.
Oh, really? It's part of the dependencies.
Well, Qtile ships a .desktop file. Yeah, it creates one when you. That's how you get the menu entry. It creates both those. Yeah.
I thought there was a separate package like on KDE. So for KDE, there's a separate.
When you install Qtile, you get both entries in your login menu.
Okay.
It ships both those. It ships 2 different .desktop files.
In the same package. Yeah, I get it. On KDE, there's a separate package.
That's another reason why I didn't bother with it, because the only reason for me to get rid of it on a permanent basis would really to be fork Qtile and my version of Qtile not ship with the Wayland.desktop file, and that's a lot of work just to remove one file that really.
Oh no! You can have a. You can have.
I could have a Pacman hook that removes it.
No need even in Calamares shell process final. You can tell it to run a script that will delete it.
No, that won't work, because every time Qtile updates, it will reinstall.
It will install. Yeah. You have to create.
So the only thing I could do was fork it or have a Pacman hook that removes that one file every time.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, and then again, you're gonna have people that want that file, and then we'll go into the Pacman hooks and find the one. It's like, I don't want users to do that.
Balancing and making decisions.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But it's. Yeah, I love the fact that KDE ships it as a separate package. I just don't include it on the ISO. Done deal. And then when they want to enable Wayland, just reinstall the file.
Yeah. Jean-Michel, how are you doing? We haven't heard from you yet.
I'm fine.
Yeah? Long time no see. Yeah, I got your message this morning. I was pulling through the Whataburger drive-thru to get my coffee. And I got a sausage biscuit as well, and I got a alert on my phone, and it was Jean-Michel messaging me through Patreon and saying he'd be here this morning. So, which you've been here all day and we haven't heard from you. That's why I wanted to
Yeah, I had some family troubles, so I had to get out and more or less let Linux on the side for a few months.
Oh. Well, it's good to have you back on the Linux side of things. You running Linux now?
I
Or
was
still-
using Linux, but I was, of course, I have only Linux since, if I remember well, 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, okay.
But I was not that much on the computer. That's the
Right. Well, I can understand that. To be honest, as much as I play with this stuff, I could easily walk away from computers, technology, and never touch any of it again, and I would be happy with that.
I'm similar. I'm similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact,
Like this is fun to play with, but honestly, I don't need it.
Well, in my industry, I can go back to drawing on paper. I don't need a computer even.
No, yeah, I mean,
In my industry,
I could still use a typewriter. Like if I want to actually write something, you know, like I got an old school typewriter in a closet.
When I first saw Jean-Michel coming without his camera turned on, I was like, could it be Jean-Michel Jarre?
No, I'm not. The only one thing in common I have with Jean-Michel Jarre is that I'm a French-speaking person.
Mm.
Oh,
But that's all.
Okay.
Let's see. The closest Whataburger to me would be in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
that's a very long drive.
When you say Tennessee William.
That's the one thing I hated. Where you at, Josh? You in Ohio?
I'm in northern Ohio.
Yeah, see, I lived, went to school in southern Ohio for a while, and I hated the selection of fast food in Ohio because none of the good chains are in Ohio.
No,
Like you either have to go to the deep south or you have to go out west to California. Like that's where all the good fast food joints are.
It's fine though. We got drive-throughs.
Like all you've got is McDonald's and Burger King. Like, come on, you got to have a better selection than that.
Well, when I was younger,
Taco Bell's the only Mexican room.
Yeah, when I was younger, you were west when you found Carl's Jr. instead of Hardee's.
Carl's Jr. Oh, I love Carl's Jr.
I mean, Carl's Jr. is pretty good. It's just that here in Ohio, Carl's Jr. goes by the name of Hardee's.
Hardee's.
Same place.
It's the same, same company.
Yeah, so we got something that we got something that will beat any American fast food joint.
What's that?
Shawarma.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't even know what he said.
Shawarma. Look it up.
I know what he's talking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, some people say shawarma.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what he's talking about now.
Yeah. We got something better. Shawarma. And,
oh, there we go. Marco's right. Skyline Chili is pretty good in Cincinnati.
Skyline
Only in
Chili.
Cincinnati. Anywhere else, Skyline is actually kind of terrible.
I was never a fan of Cincinnati style chili, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, but you guys, you brought up a really good subject earlier. Because now like I said, I am completely taking a break because I am suffering of a Zero Linux burnout. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to use technology less and less and less. The only thing I still can't. Yeah. Okay, Big Pod. But the only thing I cannot detach myself from is my phone. So computer-wise, I am slowly getting more detached from it because I've been suffering from anxiety attacks and relapses in through anxiety and depression and all that. So I am trying to walk as much as I can to interact with real people rather than social media.
I like how he said that. Real people, not the ones online.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what I mean.
I know, and people get mad at me every time I say something similar. The people that I only know online, well, we're real people too. It's like, yeah, but your pixels on a screen that I'm talking to this monitor, right?
I think that goes,
it's different in real life.
That goes back to the 90s when people would scare you about being online.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There's a lot of things you can do without a computer. If you're looking for like some general games, we've got the good old-fashioned classic Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't like Dungeons and Dragons, there's always Pathfinder as an option.
No, I figured you for a Magic the Gathering kind of person.
I mean, I've got that too. I've got
You
that
see, I
right
already
here.
knew. You see, we knew where this
I
was.
got it right here. I got it right here. You know, I
I've got-
play the goblins.
Yeah, I've played it, but none of my cards are legal anymore in tournament play.
They're still legal in Legacy, if not Vintage.
I gave Josh another reason to show off. Oh my god.
You're welcome. Let's see here. There's also board games, books. I do read a lot of books. If you like fantasy books and you haven't read it yet, you can read The Wheel of Time. It's actually a pretty good series.
No.
It's a bit of a slog towards the middle, but it gets better.
There is only one thing that will make me happy is reading Gaston Lagaffe, Astérix Obélix. I think Jean-Michel will remember those. My favorite one is.
You can read that too. I imagine that there's some form of that. There's some form of that you can obtain in print. Unlike me, where the only options that I have are piracy.
Yeah. No. My favorite one being Bill et Boule, and another one called Pierre Louis, Johann et Pierre Louis, and Les Schtroumpfs. Les Schtroumpfs. All these are part of Jean-Michel's young life.
Yeah. Sure.
See,
I still
I've got more things too.
Oh my goodness.
See, we can also play a little bit of the guitar, although this is a bass. We can also go do some fishing here. Just with brand new fishing pole down.
Yeah, that's obviously never been used. Got the price tag still on it. Yeah.
Or a
Lots
better
of things where you can just get yourself a set of tools and get to work.
Yeah.
You can tell Josh has never gone outside with that fishing pole. I like it.
I actually just got that fishing pole yesterday because I broke my other one yesterday.
But I really enjoy the thing that makes me go back to Earth is reading those French comics from my childhood, because I'm French educated, not English educated. I learned English because of E.T. Go Home or Call Home. And Star Wars. But other than that,
I was about to say, of all the movies, I figured it'd be a TV show. That's usually what gets people interested, is they follow a series.
Well, I was following Sesame Street at the same time, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
I saw E.T. in the drive-in.
Drive-in movies?
I wish I was part of the
movie
drive-in
theater out here.
I wish I experienced that, but when I was born, drive-ins were non-existent in Lebanon, at least.
Well, they're non-existent now. The only reason Josh has one is because where he lives out in the sticks. It's a new thing. They just got it.
Well, it's sort of a new thing. It actually just opened last year, and we still and they actually have a local AM radio station that they broadcast the audio through.
It was,
AM radio.
AM radio because the license was cheaper than FM.
Well, a lot of the drive-throughs drive-ins came back, even temporary pop-up ones, because of COVID. And so a lot of places were in fact, some movie theaters were getting those inflatable screens and broadcasting it. I know a couple resorts did that too. And that's funny because some of the last ones where I was living at the time had just recently been demolished to make way for other entertainment venues, and yet the demand came back.
Just quickly, because we'll go a little longer because we wasted like the first 15 minutes or so of this stream. But there's a couple of topics I did want to bring up. One of them was took a look at a couple of different Linux distributions this past month that were really interesting. One of them was Rhino Linux, which is the rolling release Ubuntu thing, which had some interesting things going on. And another one I wanted to mention for Steve was Crystal Linux, because it had their own GTK-based installer that's, not Calamares, obviously. It's GTK-based. And I mentioned that because, Steve, you can go to their GitLab, grab their source code if you want to. You keep talking about leaving Calamares behind, so there's another option.
Would it work on Arch? Would it work on Arch?
Crystal is based on Arch.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Or just write your own.
You could write your own, but if somebody else is already...
So much for getting away from technology, Steve.
And their installer obviously is written with Arch in mind, unlike Calamares, which is written for a million different distributions in mind.
I thought I got out and they pulled me back in.
Man, I'm telling you, the only reason I mention that is because I don't want to go and try that myself. I want to see if I can talk Steve into trying it first.
Well, you see, GNOME also has its own installer, which I believe is in the AUR.
What is it called?
I think it's literally called GNOME install.
Is that what they ship with their GNOME OS or whatever? Yeah.
What it is, you click, it fires up, you tell what disk you're installing to, and then you generate a user account, and that's all you do.
Oh, okay. I gather this much.
It does not support dual booting, because why would you ever want to dual boot your GNOME session?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. It's
Crystal Linux. They have their installer where, you said, Derek?
If you go to their website,
git.getchrist.al.
Yeah, there's a link somewhere as far as their source code or whatever. It's a GitLab that they host themselves.
That's interesting. If I could, if I can play around with that, but don't pull me back in. I want away from technology. Don't pull me back in.
Let's see if I Git. Okay, I found it.
I already found it.
Yeah, post a link for him. Under the software repo or the group there, they have a bunch of repos. One of them is Jade GUI, Jade TUI. So that's their installer.
Oh, I was surprised, Derek. I was surprised when you did the video. If it was you who did the video on Crystal Linux, I was surprised you didn't find the uwuification of Amethyst.
The uwu?
Yeah, Amethyst has an uwu flag, uwu option where you can turn it into uwu, and it will reply to you in uwu talk.
You're surprised I didn't find that, really?
Yeah, I was surprised you didn't find that. Or maybe you didn't want to mention it. I don't know.
Even if I knew about it, which I didn't, yeah, probably not something I would have.
It's funny when I did the video, when I mentioned it on my
the stuff you find funny is interesting, Steve.
It's uwu. It talks to you in uwu.
Now, I'm being serious about their installer and the source code. You're going to rebuild Zero Linux with their new Jade installer, and you're talking about
It's not available in the installer, but you can still Red Hat. You can still get Red Hat to talk to you in Redneck speech.
Oh yeah,
that is still a font option.
Yeah, Brody talked about it, and he found it.
Well, that was in the old installer from like when Red Hat actually still made proper desktop releases. But if you install RHEL server, you can actually still find the Redneck font, right? Well, the Red Hat language in
No, that's
I forget that file that you always edit whenever you're installing a Bootstrap distro.
Well, there's a ton of Easter eggs hidden in Linux and various shell utilities. If you go and Google that stuff, you'll find all sorts of funny things that you could do on your system that you didn't know was there.
Yeah, and they have JGUI and JTUI.
Right. I didn't take a look at their terminal install. I just did the GUI.
Yeah, the GUI is interesting, and I found it in applications because I need to fork that, put it on my own GitHub, and update the PKG build to build from my GitHub instead of.
That's exactly what you need to do, Steve. That's why I mentioned it. So I don't want to do it. I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay, I'll do it, and if I am successful, I'll teach you.
Well, I just need to know if it works or not. If you do it and it's completely broken, I know I didn't waste my time. I wasted Steve's.
Okay, when I get back from my my detoxification from technology, I will play around with it. I'll bookmark it. Thank you, Derek. You gave me something to play around with. I thought I didn't have anything because I want to make it public. But I don't know if people will make it that long in the video. But in case they do, I'm gonna mention it and announce it. Zero Linux, as it is right now, is feature complete.
Okay.
It's feature complete. And you mentioned in one of your videos that, in a serious video that you made, that if something is feature complete and doesn't receive a lot of features, that doesn't mean it's dead, because a lot of people treat something like that as a dead project for whatever reason. But it's,
Yeah, you just maintain what you've already done. If you're not adding new features, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I think more projects should do that. I think more projects should worry about maintaining what they've already done and making that the best it can be, rather than constantly adding more.
Yeah, and changing things and
just because too many projects suffer from feature creep.
Yeah,
where they try to add so much that it becomes unmanageable.
Yeah, it collapses under the weight of their own.
Right.
Correct. That's what I don't want for Zero Linux. That's why I decided to call it there. It's feature complete. It is what I always set out to have in my distro, to stay out of your way, to give you all the freedom to do whatever you want with the distro without having any of those bloat things. Because if whatever I choose, this is something I discovered recently. Whatever I choose from browser onwards, I will be fought for that choice. Why did you include Brave, not Firefox? Why did you include Vivaldi? Why did you include Ferdium, not Discord? Why did you include Jitsi, not Zoom, or whatever? I will always be attacked for each and every choice I make. So I decided not to make any choice, have the standards, and let the user do whatever.
Yeah, you just can't take any of that personally. You know,
I'm not taking it personally. I just don't want people to litter the server with their constant bickering and fighting.
You just let them know, hey, I'm not gonna change.
Yeah.
And move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So Zero Linux, that's it. It's feature complete. It's an announcement. But all three releases are. Zero G, Zero XFCE, and Zero KDE are all feature complete.
Zero Qtile.
If it ever receives a GUI to configure settings,
the Qtile is one of them that could never really be. You could probably change a few things via a GUI, but there's you can never really have a GUI to change everything in Qtile.
Hence, it's not going to be included on Zero.
Yeah, it has to be configured in Python. The user's got to know at least some basic Python, and they need to do it themselves.
Yeah. But if I ever create a WM version, it's going to be NWG-shell, because it's Zero Linux, and it prefers desktop environment style stuff everywhere. So that way I'll be supporting Hyperland, and users don't want to use it the way it is. They can there's a setting in the GUI. You can disable all the GUI stuff and just take it back to regular old Hyperland.
One final thing I wanted to mention before we get some final thoughts and get out of here. I did want to mention, obviously, the past month, the big news event. One of the big news events was the passing of Bram Moolenaar.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a big deal because he was the creator and maintainer of Vim for the last 30 years, right? So and it was really his project as far as he was very active. He was very hands-on. Every single decision that went through him. So obviously that's a big deal for Vim. Now it's not like Vim would ever go away because we already have like 1 million different forks of Vim. The Vim key bindings are kind of like their own set of things where in Emacs and VS Code and all these other editors, they've already implemented their own Vim emulation, NeoVims. And so even if the Vim project had issues going forward, in a lot of ways, Vim's going to live forever, and all these other projects that were started by it. Very, very influential, Vim.
Yeah.
Extremely influential. So many forks and offshoots and everything, and even browser plugins to emulate Vim motion keys in your browsers. So many terminal-based ncurses programs use like Vim bindings, and
he created a movement, sort of a movement when he created Vim, and I do like Vim. Well,
that's why I mentioned it.
I like NeoVim because NeoVim it's an awesome iteration of Vim. But the idea of Vim, but I'm Nano guy because that's what ships by default with Arch. But and I have my own custom Nano.
Well, just because it ships by default with Arch doesn't mean it has to ship by default with Zero Linux. You can put Vim on the ISO, like a sane person.
Yeah, there is Vim on my ISO.
I'm definitely shipping Vim. I'm not shipping just Nano.
I'm shipping Nano and Vim. Nobody noticed that on Zero Linux.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've got Emacs on my ISO, but if they want to drop to a TTY, and they don't have to use Nano. VI and Vim, they're both there.
They're both there on Zero Linux as well, but I use Nano because I got used to it and I created a configuration for it back then. So I'm NeoVim. I switched to it for the instances where I follow guides and they have Vim in their guide instead of Nano. So Vim is there. So whenever they have Vim to use Vim this, Vim that in their guide, I can do it because Vim is installed on Zero.
No.
But he created a movement, and Nano doesn't get the.
Well, what he really did, he took a really, really old text editor that everybody kind of had to use, and it was okay, VI, but it was very, very limiting as far as VI, what it does. Well, now he added so many more functionality to the VI editor and the plugin system and all of his own scripting language and everything. He really made VI an actual usable IDE, essentially.
Yeah, this is what where it all starts. It starts with, okay, I'm frustrated with this project. I want to make it better, and you fork it, and that's the beauty of open source.
He made it a modern editor, which I know some people are. Vim's a modern editor. Well, VI dates back to like 76 or 77, whenever that thing was created, and VI is definitely not a modern editor. No. Although at the time it was very revolutionary because VI, unlike Ed, VI, you could actually see the whole document and actually view it when you edited it, where Ed, you had to go line by line.
Yeah. But, hey, Vim and NeoVim and all these forks, it's amazing. Nano, do you see any forks of Nano? Not many forks out there of Nano.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you'd fork Nano, because you'd probably just start from scratch. It hasn't... There's nothing in there that is innovative in any way. So, like, if you wanted to create another...
What do you mean not innovative?
Come on, man.
Did you not pay attention to the last Nano release where they introduced syntax highlighting?
It's owned by default now?
I don't think it's on by default, but you can
okay.
it.
I didn't think so, because I haven't seen anybody use Nano and have syntax highlighting on a video or anything by default. So that'd be cool if they did turn that on by default. I'd hate it a little less, but the key bindings for Nano still horrible. Well, let's go ahead and get a last word from everybody. So Josh, give us the last word.
Well, I have already said a lot of last words. You don't have to use a computer. There's a reason why I have so many non-computer related things to do. Mostly because, I use Gentoo, and when I do Gentoo things, I don't use my computer anyway. But, the benefit of doing the non-computer things that I've previously shown is that it's actually a great way to be able to make some new friends. So get away from the computer, make some friends, play some Magic Gathering, and then get a little salty because you can't win a game.
Go outside, get some vitamin D, get some sunlight.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Thanks, Josh. Big Pod. Last word, sir. You look surprised. Like, what? Somebody just called my name?
T-Sharp. Okay.
Oh, we really caught him off guard there. Anything else, Big Pod? All right.
No.
Get back to work. You look like you had something pressing there. Christian, would you like to give us a last word?
I don't know really what to say.
You can say anything. You've got time to say anything, Linux related, tech related, or life related. It doesn't matter. Or just say, thanks for being here.
It was nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
No, very cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. George. Give us the last word.
Thanks for hosting again. And
well, this is not me hosting, but I am here.
I'm glad we could all make it, even though the technical issues. But,
yeah, well, we'll get the technical situation fixed next time.
Yeah, entertaining as always. So thank you.
Thanks, George. And Dark Zero, say something inspirational.
Something inspirational. Okay. Don't get burnt out by Linux. When you feel burnt out, go touch some grass.
All right, Jean-Michel.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say, but I agree with Steve and Josh that we should do something else than just technology or Linux. And I have a good idea for someone that really want to get out of the technology and use his brain. Is what I have done in the last few months, is learning Chinese.
Ah, cool.
And this is something that gets you completely out.
That is relevant specifically for me because for the work that I do, all the machine manuals are written in Chinese.
Okay.
And and what helps with Chinese is that my brother is married to a Chinese.
This is something, of course, he had some advantage. Because where I live, it's quite difficult to find real contact with Chinese people because on the countryside there are not that much Chinese, only in big cities.
Jean-Michel, regarde dans le chat, je vais t'envoyer un lien. Regarde la vidéo.
Ok, je regarderai. Merci.
De rien. Ça va t'amuser. Ça va être amusant.
Okay, so and then I thank you, TT, for all the work, and I wish everyone a good time, and see you next time.
All right, appreciate it, Jean-Michel. All right, Ben.
Always great to be here and hang out with everybody, and we'll see you after the show then, Derek.
Yeah. I'm gonna step away for go grab some lunch, and I'll come back and I'll meet up with you, Ben, and we'll see if we can get no problem.
So we're gonna say pour. I'm gonna say this from now. Pour DT.
Oh golly.
Oh no. I bet this problem 5 minutes. I bet it's gonna be something.
Be careful.
Okay.
That's why I said yes, Steve. If it had sounded like something that was going to be really complex,
no,
you know what? I'm tied up all this week, Ben.
What I meant was you're dealing with Ben. Something that takes 5 minutes will end up taking days.
No. I don't think Ben wants to be there any longer than I do.
All right, cool.
It's a Sunday afternoon. Come on.
Joined us very late.
All right, Ben. Yeah, I'll send you an email after I get some lunch and come back.
Okay.
Solbu, this is the last word.
Yeah, so I'm late to the party. And
well, you can give us a first word and a last word.
Yeah, so hello and goodbye.
That's what I did on my podcast. I was like, hey guys, we're back. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about me being late getting the stream started and us staying so late is we got to get you on camera, Solbu, because you would have missed us had we been on time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm just binge watching Star Trek Voyager at the moment, so I'm at the midpoint of the last season.
Wait! You're watching Star Trek Voyager?
Yes.
My least favorite series, and
it used to be my least favorite until I really watched it as an adult, because I used to watch it when I was a kid. I didn't understand anything. I thought they were stuck in the same place, repeating every episode over and over again. No, but now that I'm
7 of 9, easily the best character in any of the series. But let's be real, Voyager wasn't great.
Voyager, my UPS died on the HTPC, so I can't watch any more episodes until I buy a new UPS. But I am at season 6, early season 6 right now. I'm stuck there, but so far so good. I really like it. The subjects they deal with, and my favorite, my third favorite captain is Janeway, because she sets her foot down.
Yeah, and I discovered while watching Voyager, I discovered a YouTube channel that I haven't heard before, which started in November or October of last year. It's a guy from the UK somewhere, and he is reviewing Voyager as a pedantic person who is picking apart everything, and it's quite fun.
Yeah, if you like those kind of channels, watch Trek Culture. Trek Culture, they review every episode of every new series, and they give it ups and downs.
Yeah, he doesn't give it an ups and downs, and he is watching it from a pedant's perspective, and he uses silly names like the Cardigans for.
Oh, okay. But it's fun to watch the ups and downs of Trek Culture because they don't put their opinions on it. They just talk about the when there's a discrepancy between this episode and this episode and stuff like that. They're not opiniated. I love it. I watch it after every episode.
Yeah, this one is a little of the same. He has opinions on occasion, but he is very. He is clearly noting that this is his opinion.
Yeah, I like for Strange New Worlds. I watch the episode of Strange New Worlds. After it, immediately I watch Trek Culture ups and downs on it. So it's something nice to watch. It's like what's it called for Discovery, Trek After Dark or whatever it used to be called. They review every episode after each episode. So with guests from the TV show itself.
Yeah. So his channel name is Unlimited Lives, but he started the channel name as Voyager Reviewed. And at for the first 4 seasons, the title says reviewed by an a-hole, and then he changed it to by a pedant, and he can go on a rant for minutes on end on a single detail that is wrong or is when the writers really nail a story, and they have something in the background that you hardly noticed, but they include for continuity's sake. And
I almost went to go.
No,
like
sorry, no, but we sorry.
You know, I do that with.
You fell on 2 guys who are Trekkies.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that people say Linux users are all a bunch of nerds, and you guys proved it. So
yeah. We're a bunch of nerds. I'm a Trekkie before Star Wars.
Although I didn't expect to hear anybody say the word a-hole anytime during this stream, so that was nice. We got that in.
Yeah, and for those who are of the geeks who are wondering, yes, I am in the captain's room on aboard the Battlestar Galactica. I'm a sci-fi fan, so.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Soul Boo. And my last word is, of course, thanking all of you guys for being here. And we need to thank everybody in the YouTube chat as well. I know we didn't really pay too much attention to the YouTube chat because of all the technical difficulties, and we had to swap between Jitsi rooms and Zoom rooms like 3 or 4 different times during the stream, and had a lot of problems this time. So thank you guys for being patient and hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll have those problems fixed next time. I'm going to show some patron names on the screen, some of the patrons that couldn't be here. And I want to thank each and every one of these ladies and gentlemen. And other than that, you guys wave bye to YouTube and yell out your favorite programming language.
Go Lang!
JavaScript.